Okay, let's talk about AI. Because if you think you know what it is, you might want to think again. For years, we've had this idea of AI as a passive assistant, right? You ask it a question, it gives you an answer. You give it a command, it makes an image. But that's all starting to change, and fast. We're seeing this huge shift to a new kind of AI, one that doesn't just predict an answer, but one that actually goes out and achieves a goal. Welcome to the era of autonomous agents.
So, what is the actual difference here? What does this shift really mean? Well, think of it like this. Predictive AI, the stuff we're used to, is like asking for a recipe. It gives you the full list of ingredients and all the instructions, but you still have to do all the cooking. An autonomous agent, on the other hand, is like having a chef. You just say, "I'd like dinner," and the chef figures out the menu, goes and buys the ingredients, and then cooks the entire meal for you. See the difference? We're moving from just being an instruction taker to being a goal achiever.
You know, this quote right here just nails it. It really gets to the core of what's happening. Language models, they gave AI the amazing ability to reason, to think. But agents give it the power to act on that reasoning. It's kind of like the final piece of the puzzle that turns a machine that can think into a machine that can do.
All right, so how do these things actually work? What's under the hood? It's actually a lot less complicated than you might think, especially if you use a simple analogy. Just think of an agent like a body. It's got a brain, it's got a set of hands, and it's got a nervous system that connects the two.
So first up, you've got the model. This is the agent's brain. And honestly, this is the part you're probably already familiar with. It's the large language model, the LLM. This is the core intelligence, the part that's doing all the heavy lifting, processing information, figuring out a strategy, and making those high-level plans and decisions.
But here's the thing. A brain on its own is pretty useless if it can't interact with the world, right? And that's where the tools come in. These are the agent's hands. Think of these as all the things that let it take action, connecting to APIs, running bits of code, accessing a database. This is what allows the agent to stop just thinking and start actually doing things, like searching the web, sending an email, or, updating a customer's file.
And finally, we have the piece that ties it all together, the orchestration layer. This is the nervous system. It's the critical link that connects the brain to the hands. You can think of it as the manager of the whole operation. It manages the workflow, tells the brain when it's time to think, decides which hand or tool to use, and then interprets the results before deciding what to do next. It's basically the conductor for the whole symphony.
Okay, so we have our parts, the brain, the hands, and the nervous system. But how do they all work together in concert? Well, it all comes down to a really simple but incredibly powerful feedback loop that drives everything an agent does. It has to think, then it has to act, and then it has to observe.
And we can break that loop down into 5 clear stages. Everything kicks off with the mission. That's the goal you give it. Then it scans the scene, which just means it takes a look at what tools it has and what the current situation is. After that, it's time to think it through. This is where the brain comes up with a step-by-step plan. Once it has a plan, it's time to take action, using its hands to do the first step. And finally, and this is the most important part, it observes the outcome, learns from what just happened, and then repeats that whole process over and over until the mission is complete.
Let's make this real. Say a user asks, "Where's my order?" The agent doesn't just pull an answer out of thin air. It makes a plan. Act 1. It uses an internal tool to find the order details. Observation. Aha! It gets a tracking number. Now it has new information to work with. So, Act 2, it uses a different tool, an external shipping API, and plugs in that tracking number. Observation. The package is out for delivery. It's only after going through this chain of actions and observations that it can finally report the complete, accurate answer back to the user.
Now, that simple example of tracking an order, that's just the very first step. That's the first rung on the ladder. The real magic of agents, the true potential, is what happens when they start to scale this model up, climbing a ladder of new capabilities, from these simple problem solvers to incredibly complex collaborative teams.
At level 1, the first rung, we have the connected problem solver. This is an agent that can use a pretty basic tool, like a search API, to get live real-world information. The key here is that it's no longer trapped by its training data. So if you ask it, "Hey, what was the score of the game last night?" it can actually use that search tool to find out and give you a factual, totally up-to-date answer.
Then you climb up to level 2, the strategic problem solver. This is where things get really interesting. This is the agent that can create those multi-step plans we just talked about. Crucially, it can take the result from one action and use it as the input for the next action.
For example, it could figure out the halfway point between two cities, and then, using that location, it could search for highly rated coffee shops nearby. It's starting to think strategically.
But the real game changer, the top of the ladder for now, is level 3, the collaborative multi-agent system. And the big idea here is that we stop trying to build one giant, all-knowing super agent. Instead, we build a team of specialists, just like you would in a real company. You have a project manager agent that gets a big, high-level goal like launch our new product, and then it delegates tasks. It tells the market research agent to go analyze competitors. It tells the marketing agent to start drafting press releases, and it tells the web dev agent to generate the new product page. This is where we go from automating simple tasks to automating entire, complex business workflows.
And that's the point, really. This is the crucial takeaway. We are moving away from just interacting with a single AI tool, and we're moving toward collaborating with entire teams of AI agents. And that shift, well, that's going to have some pretty profound implications for how all of us work.
This quote captures that shift in a role perfectly. You know, in the past, we were the bricklayers. We had to code every single logical step of a process, line by line. But with agents, our role becomes more like a director. We set the high-level goal, we pick the cast of agents and the tools they can use, and we give them the right context to succeed. Our job is shifting from direct, hands-on execution to high-level guidance and management.
And this, of course, brings us to the final, really big question. As we head into this future of AI teams, a future where agents become these highly efficient, incredibly adaptable, and seriously capable new colleagues, what does our role become? What's the uniquely human thing we bring to the table when we have collaborators that can execute these complex tasks all on their own? That's a question I think we're all going to be figuring out, and probably very soon.